The Fast and Furious franchise has set a high bar for action films, known not just for its explosive stunts but for its surprisingly heartfelt relationships and character arcs. Christian Guedgast's Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, the sequel to the 2018 heist thriller, attempts to borrow a page from the Fast and Furious playbook, most notably the undercover cop twist from the original 2001 movie. However, the sequel fails to recreate the emotional weight and suspense that made Fast and Furious so iconic, delivering instead a hollow and predictable narrative. Fast and Furious, the gold standard of the undercover cop arc. In the first Fast and Furious film, Paul Walker's Brian O'Connor starts as an LAPD cop tasked with infiltrating Dominic Toretto's crew of car thieves. What makes the story compelling is Brian's gradual realization that Dom, Vin Diesel, and his team are more than just criminals. They're a tight-knit family shaped by loyalty and survival in a harsh world. Brian's eventual betrayal of the police force comes from his growing love for Dom's sister, Mia, and his understanding of how systemic inequalities and personal tragedy push Dom's crew into their lifestyle. These relationships and moral dilemmas create a suspenseful push and pull, keeping viewers on edge about Brian's ultimate choice. The payoff is deeply satisfying because it feels earned, grounded in the heartfelt bonds Brian builds with the crew. Den of Thieves 2 fails to earn its twist. In Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, Gerard Butler's Nick, a gritty LAPD officer, follows a similar path as he infiltrates the team of diamond thief Donnie, O'Shea Jackson Jr. However, the film lacks the emotional groundwork that made Fast and Furious so engaging. Instead of immersing viewers in Nick's inner conflict, the movie gives little indication that he's genuinely torn about switching sides. While Fast and Furious showed Brian grappling with his divided loyalties, Nick spends most of Pantera bickering, partying, and chasing romantic interest Giovanna. There's no sense of camaraderie between Nick and Donnie, nor is there any backstory to make Nick's defection believable. The result? A twist that feels entirely hollow. When Nick finally betrays Donnie's crew, the lack of emotional buildup leaves the revelation devoid of tension or stakes. Fans are neither surprised nor invested, as Nick's predictable actions carry none of the moral complexity seen in Brian's journey. Where Den of Thieves 2 went wrong. For a film leaning so heavily on the undercover cop dynamic, Pantera misses key ingredients that make the trope work. Emotional bonds. The film doesn't convincingly portray any meaningful connection between Nick and Donnie or the rest of the crew. Without these bonds, Nick's betrayal lacks emotional weight. Internal conflict. Nick's supposed disillusionment with his role as a cop or the reasons for his family troubles are only vaguely touched upon. Unlike Brian, whose choices were shaped by relatable dilemmas, Nick's actions feel unmotivated and shallow. Uncertainty. A significant part of Fast and Furious' success lies in the audience's uncertainty about Brian's final choice. By contrast, Nick's allegiance to the badge is never in question, making his eventual betrayal feel inevitable rather than shocking. The failed payoff. Even the film's attempt at a cliffhanger ending, hinting that Nick might have helped Donnie escape from the Italian mafia, falls flat. Without proper emotional setup or narrative tension, the twist feels like an afterthought, a cheap imitation of Fast and Furious nuanced storytelling. Final thoughts. While Den of Thieves 2, Pantera delivers on high-octane action, it fails to replicate the depth and authenticity of the undercover cop arc popularized by Fast and Furious. By neglecting the emotional nuance and relationships that make such twists compelling, the movie ultimately undercuts its own impact. Den of Thieves 2. Pantera is now playing in theaters, but action fans expecting a genuine successor to Fast and Furious may leave disappointed.